Right, so this is director's commentary for Will and Testament. My name is Skip Kite. I'm the director.
My name's Michael Miles. I'm the director of photography.
These things are always quite difficult. You don't know what to say, but...
well, this is a bit of a guerrilla filming, wasn't it, to start with?
Yeah.
Those curtains, anyway, were...
We went to BAFTA to do a test, and the idea just popped into my mind that this could be the opening of the film. And it's an idea I saw first done brilliantly by Terence Davis in his documentary of Time in the City. So I did the sort of poor man's version.
I mean, originally we were going to have Tony in it, weren't we? But then changed our mind.
It is no blood in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub.
This was all his personal
what dreams make
home movies, wasn't it?
when
So
we've shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life.
I decided that I'd use poetry as a way for Tony to be able to approach personal areas of his life that he was, as a politician, uncomfortable doing because he was afraid that it would feel too sentimental or self-congratulatory or whatever. So we tried poetry as a device to communicate to the audience. The Ealing set, Michael.
yes, this was quite an interesting proposition. It started considerably larger than this. Well, the suggestion was some great big airship hangar. But anyway, it came down to Ealing Studios, and I think it works quite well.
Again, this is another idea I sort of begged, borrowed and stole. I really admired Lars von Trier's film Dogville. I was really struck by it. And another film, a Canadian art house film called Billy Bishop Goes to War. And I showed those to Michael and the team, Kay Brown, the art director, and
I think it all originally started because Tony had left his house, moved out to his sort of family home, and his office was in the basement and that was empty. So originally we were just going to reconstruct his office in a studio. Then it sort of grew and grew and grew.
Members have to be heard in this House, however unpopular it is thought their views might be, and this will continue to be the case for as long as I am Speaker. Mr. Benn.
Anthony Wedgwood Benn, as he was known in the 60s, had renounced his birthright. He served as Technology Minister in Harold Wilson's first government and Industry Secretary in the 70s.
The whole deterrent argument is a fraud.
Branded a rebel from within, vilified by Labour and Tory opponents for his left-wing views, yet admired by...
editor is Lisa Ryan Carter, and Lisa felt it was very important that we introduced who Tony was at the very beginning. And I think it really works well.
In a place of dignity and serves them, or whether you just hand over your money to gamblers who don't create any wealth at all.
His problem is that he's about 10 years in front of his time.
I think he is a kind of aging perennial youth. He immatures with age.
That was Harold Wilson. Tony's house.
Tony's house, yeah, family home for 50 years or in Holland Park.
I love this first line from Tony.
Age is something put upon you by events, but it isn't something that you feel normally. I don't think of myself as being very old, because you still look at the world through the same eyes. Everyone has a time to live and a time to die. It's the pressure of what you should do that keeps me going, really.
You know, it's funny, Michael. I don't want to talk over him.
I know, it's difficult, isn't it?
I feel like I'm treading on hallowed ground.
That's right, yeah. I know, it was really difficult.
She regarded death as a great adventure. She wasn't at all frightened of death. And she taught me how to live, and she taught me how to die, and you can't ask more of anyone than that.
I wanted the film to introduce Tony to the audience, firstly as a husband, as a father. I wanted to show the human face first and tell his love story, to really break down any barriers the audience might have politically between themselves and Tony, and then bringing in the politics later. So the politics did not overpower this lovely, very delicate story. I mean, really, the film's about life, love and loss, which is a theme that's applicable to all of us.
And her spirit inspires the whole.
No, it's a really lovely love story, apart from the politics and all the rest of it. It's just...
And Tony was so generous, giving us access to his family archive.
We're a very close family, and much of our life has come through this house, and they feel it as I do.
I feel anyone could have made a film with Tony Benn, because he's so eloquent, and he's such a gentleman, and he's so hard-working.
Every life is like a pebble dropped into a pool.
Yes, he couldn't be more helpful.
And that is true.
Just wanted to be part of the team, didn't he?
He just I mean, if he could have done, he would have been carrying all the boxes and everything. And he would have, but he always made sure we had our cups of tea.
You don't know where you are, and you don't know where you're going. Looking back at what's happened and thinking about it and trying to draw lessons from it is very interesting.
We go back to Ealing quite a few times during this, which are all sort of these reconstructions of various parts of his life.
And also his political philosophy. Yeah. Like the war set and the sort of capitalist set.
And so the two married together very well.
I feel like we're talking over with Tony. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult, yeah. Because, as you say, it's hallowed ground.
4 years older than me, and David, who was nearly 4 years younger.
I'm worried that people that buy the DVD will go, why don't these two just shut up?
Shut up and let's listen to Tony. Yeah. It's much more interesting.
I'd second that.
Yes.
The idea that all real questions were...
So this was him as a child. They start with the love story of Caroline, then his childhood, where his principles came from, his values came from.
The thing that always made me cry was if something I thought was unfair was done. And that registered with me very much indeed.
There's so much material.
There is a lot.
It was the story of the conflict between the kings who had power and the prophets who preached righteousness.
Somebody said early on that this could have been a sort of 3-part series for TV, each 1 hour long.
Well, the amount of archive that's available and the amount of filming, I mean, I think the original cut ran to about 2.5 hours, didn't it? So you could have made 3 half-hour versions almost out of that.
That was the last image of Michael, Tony's brother, and now we do a transition. I wanted this idea of taking us back to his childhood during the Blitz. This was a massive influence on his life, experiencing the Blitz as a child in London. He'd been evacuated, but then returned by mistake because of some administration error, and so he ended up being in London.
My parents went to Munich in the 30s, came back and reported about Hitler and about the anti-Semitism and so on. The development of anti-Semitism was very calculated. There was mass unemployment. it was due to defeat in the First World War and all sorts of other things. But Hitler said no, he said it's all due to the Jews. So he built up support. He said, give me power and I'll give you full employment. And he did.
God, cleaning this archive was such a big job. And it's just an unending job. Dust busting, and...
I mean, the amount of archive there is available, how one actually chooses to get the right
A light war because it's
archive is most unenviable task.
And that is one of the things we have to watch very.
And I wanted to tie World War II to now. I didn't want it to feel historical. I wanted to show one of Tony's points, which is that struggles happen again and again.
And helping people to understand the ingredients of war.
And politicians never seem to learn. Learn from history.
Here we are back again.
To be in a country at war when the country is fighting for its survival is very frightening. When I look back on it now, I have the sense that the whole world is coming to an end.
And he joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
Father had been in the Air Force. His brother was already
When the war
flying
came, I
and fighting.
joined the Air Force as soon as I was old enough. And in the years of the war, I had my real education because I'd been privately educated, and you don't meet anyone but a very narrow section of society. And in the Air Force, I met everybody. That really shaped my thinking very, very substantially.
See, Africa was a really important time for Tony. This is where he really... His political beliefs were galvanized by what he saw, the effects of colonialism, the inequality.
It was a society which had none of the basic rights that we had been taught were human rights. And at that time, the Africans had no vote at all. It was all entirely controlled by the white population. And that really interested me in the liberation movement. And when I got into Parliament, I got very deeply involved in the movement for colonial freedom and working with the South Africans against apartheid and so on. It made some progress, but at the same time, the gap between the standard of living in Africa and here is very great. So colonial liberation was only one stage in the process.
This is a time that, I have to remind myself that very, very few politicians came out in support of civil rights.
In Africa, we had classes every day on various aspects of life.
Very rare.
And at the very beginning,
Very brave, very visionary.
Letters from home, and there was a telegram from my mother. It said, "Precious Michael gave his life today, family more united than ever." I had to sit throughout the whole of that class with nothing else in my mind but that message. And then I went out into the airfield and burst into tears. The shock was horrific and the sense of loss horrific. It was a terrible tragedy for me because I was devoted to my brother. He was a wonderful guy. I missed him terribly and he inspired me in so many ways.
That's for me, an example of how music can be so powerful. All credit to Michel de Boisson. And this really sums up Tony's feelings about the threat of nuclear weapons today.
I was in the services and I remember hearing on the news that the Americans had used this extremely powerful weapon. I went to Hiroshima once and I was shown round by a Japanese man, and he took me along the road, and on the pavement there was a little dark mark. And I said, "Why are you showing me that?" And he said, "Well, that's where a child was sitting when the bomb landed. And the child was vaporized, and all that was left of that child was a little mark on the pavement."
Again, great. This was actually a piece of music that the editor, Lisa Ryan Carter, chose. I think it works so well with Tony's voice and the images. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, no, it works really well. I think throughout the film, actually, the music works really well, whether it be specially composed or not. But
all the work you're doing now is a complete waste of time unless you tackle this question of nuclear weapons.
I think Michael was watching the film too much.
I know, yeah, it's the trouble. You get sucked into this film, and then you just start listening to it and watching it, and you think, "Oh, I meant to be saying something about it." Although, okay, there is quite a lot of archive, which is.
Now, I only ask this: I am not a pacifist. I never.
But I think the thing is about so much of this archive is that, okay, it's going back, but it's so relevant to today and his views.
And now we go into the political.
Atomic energy has been liberated. And that fact makes war merely a form of suicide for mankind.
I had to pick one subject. I thought, okay, I go from his childhood, his love affair with Caroline, his experience of colonialism and racism. And I thought, okay, I need to bring it back to the Labour Party. And I thought nuclear would be a great way of doing it, because it's a theme we return to later on in the documentary as well. Lisa loves these shots.
I was a shadow spokesman for the Labour opposition.
I think she would have been there if she could have been.
She did.
If she was alive at the time, she would have been lying on the floor.
Could ever use the nuclear weapons.
I had never any sympathy, as people who know anything about me must know, with the Soviet system and its lack of democracy. But I never believed that the Russians were threatening to invade Western Europe. I never believed it. I don't think most people in this country were going to take, with all their domestic problems, going to take over West Germany, Italy, France, come to London, deal with Ken Livingstone, go to Northern Ireland and deal with Ian Paisley.
He was such a brilliant speaker.
It was the most convenient political instrument ever used in domestic politics, because if you ever criticised the Conservative government, then you were an agent of the KGB. Now, you see, the second thing is we can't afford nuclear weapons either.
Yeah, what a great speaker.
Look back at all the arguments about why the British economy is weak.
He just has this ability to condense complex ideas for me, and he just condenses them and crystallises them for me. And it's just so... I was so spoiled with Tony.
Yeah. Public expenditure in recent years.
So easy. He makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
70 billion quid, which is what we're spending on.
And really, there aren't politicians nowadays that have that.
I regard that as a big moral issue,
way of speaking,
and central question on which people
that talent,
have to say
really.
what they think. And that's why when I first heard
So this is a first really good look at his study that we recreated.
Those words made such an impression.
It's all his. It's all his personal stuff that's been brought out of storage.
Yep.
So it's as close as you can get to the actual original.
Yep. The desk lamp, all the paperwork, the pictures.
To save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime have brought untold sorrow to mankind.
Kay Brown did an amazing job as art director. She was so nervous of having to be responsible for all of Tony's personal objects and artifacts.
Those words registered with me because here was a statement being made on behalf of the human race. And I still believe that...
I was right about having the real flames, though, Michael. Remember we argued that one, didn't we?
There was an argument about that, but we had to.
We won in the end.
You had to, yeah, you had to have. I mean, health and safety weren't too keen, but we had to have that. That sort of that focus in his living room.
I love the joy on the faces of these people.
Yeah, this is great, and there's a lovely bit of music. This that
Michelle wrote.
And the idea of that ukulele
Yeah,
which I think was your idea.
well, Michelle and I, we really bounced off of each other well, and he said to me, just say it. Just say it. So I went, George Formby,
Yes.
when I'm cleaning windows. And he just went, okay, enough. And then I left him, and he said, give me 20 minutes. And he rustled up something very quickly and then refined it.
While we are making plans to make a land fit for those...
What do you think people at home want to hear about? Or do you think they've turned this off already, Michael?
No, I think they suddenly realise that nothing's changed. But, they're still talking about the same things.
No, I meant from us.
From us? Well, yeah, they probably would have switched off from us. They said, let's go back and watch the main film. This is boring. But...
Well, to keep them interested, shall we tell them we have next week's lottery numbers?
Yeah, if only. Yes, that might be.
But we're only going to tell them.
We're going to tell
the
them right at the end. Yes, they've got to watch. We might tell at any time throughout, so they have to be listening.
When Winston Churchill was Prime Minister of the coalition government, the level of taxation on the very richest was 95%. And the reason for it was very simple. They needed the money to fight the war, but also they felt everybody ought to make a proper contribution.
Staggering. It's now 95%.
Yeah.
I remember going on a troop ship to South Africa in 1944. We decided to have a meeting on war aims. And I was sent to see the colonel in charge of troops, and I saluted and said,
This was in Southwold, wasn't it?
Southwold, yeah. There was a little museum there.
We'd, no, not at all. And we had the most wonderful political discussion.
I think Tony had been down there for one of his gigs.
Yeah.
In the 1930s, we had
which we filmed and we used a bit of in the...
Yeah.
Unemployment in wartime.
There's a Jarrow Crusade.
You can have full employment by killing Germans. Why can't you have full employment by building hospitals, building schools, recruiting teachers, recruiting nurses? You've got to do in peacetime what you do in wartime, develop your policies to meet people's needs. And it was that.
You see, he's right. There's always money for war, isn't there, Michael?
Yeah, always. Always money for war.
Social changes.
But no money, especially for the poor.
Labour will now have a majority over all parties in a House of 640.
The course of the next few years may well decide the future of civilization for decades or for centuries.
I love this sequence.
And that brass band music is perfect.
The British industry had been broken by the war.
And then by the Tories in the 80s. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that, really. Should I? Try not to make this too political.
Yeah, well, one could get carried away.
Yeah.
Of the whole thing.
But again, this is so relevant with what's going on at the moment with
we
NHS
decimated our manufacturing industrial
completely
base.
Decimated.
In any way that could advance the nation's progress.
Now it's all, we need to have more manufacturing and more, traineeships and
bit too
apprenticeships.
late. Yeah.
I think we can do it. I mean, Britain is still at the top of the league on so many industries.
Every penny we had on the war, Clement Attlee took Britain through that and built the National Health Service and the welfare state and started a big housing programme. And it was a remarkable recovery that we had.
Oh, I love this next shot. In a sense. It really just sums it all up.
Yeah.
You could see so many people living in appalling conditions. Such a huge social problem. It had to be dealt with, and it was dealt with very boldly.
It's almost Dickensian, isn't it?
It really is, isn't it? Yeah, you just believe.
Care at all. There were certain charitable organisations, but the full resources that medicine could offer were not at the disposal of the poor.
And I wanted to, again, the housing programme that the Labour government brought in.
Post-war Labour government, they built hundreds of thousands of flats and homes for people.
Tony felt, and I agreed so much, that it was important to show this.
Yeah, I mean, you think of the damage after the Second World War, but the amount of homes, and for a country that was basically bankrupt after the war, it was amazing what they did.
Yeah, and yet with all the wealth we've got now, the government, Labour and Tory, they don't build enough houses, and we've got a housing bubble again.
The rebuilding of our industries, it was a formidable achievement.
You should run for office, Michael.
Yeah, but it didn't help that all these houses that were built were all flogged off by Thatcher.
Yeah, oh gosh. Should we not open that Pandora's box?
We better not get too carried away on all that.
And then another change of gear here, where we look at the institution of Parliament.
We broke all the rules filming this.
Yes.
The mother of parliaments, and of course, in a sense, it's true, but you mustn't confuse.
We were told strictly not to film past a line at the very front of the chamber. But Tony, being Tony,
ignored it.
And we followed.
Yes, we followed.
But of course, until quite recently, not everybody had the vote. Indeed, it was in 1948, only 2 years before I was elected, that we got the principle of one man, one woman, one vote.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
1948.
I didn't realise that myself. Yeah.
Democracy. It seems to me to be a very revolutionary idea, because before there was any democracy, all power was in the hands of rich and powerful people, and everybody else were just slaves. And then
I wanted that kitchen filmed before he moved, because I just wanted to show he wasn't a champagne socialist. That kitchen does not say champagne.
Yeah, I mean that was his kitchen. That's the only thing in the house that hadn't been moved out. All the rest was just empty.
He was very proud of it.
But he loved his kitchen.
Which was the most socialist thing we ever did.
So we hadn't dressed it. I mean, that was it.
Yep. Was it the day we turned up?
Yeah.
Do you think he had that plant since 1954?
I think he probably had, actually, yeah.
One of the biggest battles I fought, and it was personal but also political, was a battle I had to keep out of the House of Lords.
I'm sure you will agree with me.
Hugh Gateskill, what a great speaker.
For a member of Parliament to be obliged to give up his seat in the House of Commons, not because his constituents have deserted him, not because he has been turned out.
I always feel that Tony took a lot of inspiration from Hugh Gateskill. You know, his mannerisms, the way he speaks, his ability there to project an idea.
Yeah, they're both great speakers, yeah.
But of course the real issue was, could this bit of nonsense about a peerage prevent a constituency from picking who they wanted to represent them?
See, Attlee asked his father to take the peerage to help Labour in the House of Lords. It was a purely political move. And the promise was that then after the balance was there and restored, that it would be revoked, but it wasn't. The Tories wouldn't allow it. So he was stuck with this sort of Damocles hanging over him.
And of course, originally the peerage would have gone to Tony's elder brother, but of course he was killed during the war.
That was it. Yeah, it would have gone to Michael.
Yeah.
That I'd had when I was qualified. But when I arrived in the House of Commons, the Speaker wouldn't allow me to enter the chamber.
Caroline always by his side.
Yes.
Well, I think the interesting thing about it is this. The judges had to do an assessment of what British parliamentary democracy means in 1961, and they came to three conclusions. First of all, that the House of Lords is more important than the House of Commons. Secondly, that the democratic rights of electors to choose their own member of parliament must never be allowed to challenge the hereditary privileges of peers. And thirdly, that if electors do attempt to challenge it, as they did in Bristol, then they are to be punished by having a defeated candidate put in their place.
I don't believe in a hereditary member of parliament. I mean, if I go to the dentist and he begins drilling my teeth and he says, I'm not a dentist myself, but my father was a very good dentist, I think I'd pick somebody else. I don't believe in
His humour there's so much humour in this film.
Tony
couldn't stop cracking jokes.
Yeah, he was always joking, but they very.
You can't have people
very cutting humour as well.
Who haven't been elected. You can't get rid of a member of the House of Lords. You can't actually contribute to getting somebody in the Lords. It's all done by patronage. And if you don't like it, well, you just got to lump it. So I think the House of Lords should be abolished.
It's amazing in today's age how many people scramble for peerages.
Yes.
They're sort of touted now, aren't
That's
they?
right, yeah, it's sort of...
for sort of party donations and things.
Yeah. That's your reward for being... helping the party, basically.
Mm.
Does it work? Where's the doing? Ladies and gentlemen, it isn't on. It isn't on.
I love that. It just makes me laugh every time.
Human interest.
Anthony Neil Wedgwood Benn, 20,300...
He was made effectively unemployed during this period, so he had to go and take lecture tours in America. So it was a tough time, you know. He was away from his family and children.
He did work briefly for the BBC as well at one point, didn't he? Yeah.
But he was in America during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Country by your own power.
And was watched very carefully by the FBI and CIA. He was seen as a communist and a possible spy.
Sounds typical.
And they won't lock the door this time. Thank you very much indeed.
And I just want to say, without Ruth Winstone's help, Ruth was Tony's editor of his diaries and worked with him since 1983. Without her help and her guidance and her support and just good humour, and I can't praise Ruth enough. Without Ruth, then all of this would have been, pun intended, a pipe dream.
Yes.
By the end of the 50s, the Labour Party was trying to look ahead beyond the years, what they call the wasted years they'd been under the Conservatives, where opportunities had been lost and the society had shifted to the right. And Labour offered in Wilson's manifesto the new Britain.
I love some of these floats. They're sort of so DIY, really.
Look at that, people in the shoe.
Yeah.
Postmaster General.
When we were back in power in '64, Wilson appointed me Postmaster General, and it was a huge job because every postman and every telephone operator were in my department.
And for me, this is a subtle, point that I'm making here. That
center. It will be joined to the world satellite system and is part, therefore, of a global network.
I mean, this is the beginning of the internet, basically.
Yes, I mean, Tony was right at the minister at the beginning of all this, the new dawn of
the white heat of technology.
The white heat of technology, yes. And he was there, and later we'll see he was there for the start of the oil in this country. It was
brand new offices of a brand new idea in government. This is MINTEC, the Ministry of Technology.
The object of technology is to get more out of it.
I think with documentaries like these, it's very hard not to go to archive, because where else can you go?
Well, there is no, otherwise you just have endless talking heads and just people, it's much... And I think there's a lot of people who don't realise a lot of history is manipulated. People don't realise actually what exactly went on.
The Concorde, and looking back on it, I wouldn't have started it because it was this idea that speed was everything, whereas actually the future lay in mass transit. But by the time I took charge of it, there were 250,000 people working on it, so I tried to keep it going.
Mr. Wedgwood Benn, Minister of Technology...
Yeah, he really admired the people that built the plane, but he felt the plane itself was elitist. And his attitude was if he had joined the Concorde programme early enough...
Concorde was never in the metal, it was in the people who...
He would have gone for a mass transit plane. rather than for speed.
Which, of course, is what's happening now.
Oh, yes, you're right, with what's it called, the Airbus or something.
The extra big Airbus, whatever it is, I don't know, but that's where it's gone.
For years, some of them had been building aircraft for 30 years and never flown before. And one of them, as we got on the plane, said he'd taken the last communion, and I said, well, that doesn't show much confidence in your product.
It's a beautiful looking plane.
It's a lovely plane, but unbelievably small inside.
In 1975, I was moved from the Department of Industry to the Department of Energy, and it was at a critical period.
I like the fact that we didn't show the set all brightly lit like a TV studio, Michael.
Yeah. I mean, he's back in his office.
Yeah.
It's an astonishing technical achievement.
This is the first bottle of North Sea oil that was brought ashore, and I was there to receive it. And, of course, it posed enormous problems for us because we'd had no experience of being an oil producer.
As more oil came ashore, so did a new source of revenue for the government.
You think oil is such a hot potato now with Scottish independence and...
That's right. And
debate about, who owns the oil and this question of whether Scotland had had their pockets picked by the English Parliament.
Well, once again, as Tony says...
It's a quarter of the revenues from the North Sea oil.
That we could have an amazing sovereign wealth fund.
The prospect of being free from debilitating...
All that was sold off.
Also transformed the political scene. The next government could stay in power for 20 years, said Harold Wilson. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't to be Labour.
When Mrs. Thatcher came to power, she sold off the oil we had and used it to pay for redundancy pay for people she'd sacked.
Every penny of the oil revenue has either gone on the dole or foreign investment or tax cuts. And the whole of the so-called Thatcher economic...
Someone said to me, this film's not very balanced, where's the balance? And I said, well, was Tony ever balanced? Tony was always left, left, left. So I wanted, the film was about him.
Yeah, it's about him, but also about its history. This is what it was. I mean, this is what was happening. Still telling the story.
I never wanted to make a balanced documentary. We didn't want that, did we, Mike?
No, I mean it's his story.
Warts and all.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All choices are choices between right and wrong. They're all moral choices, political and personal. And I think that is the core of my belief, based on my judgment at a particular moment, what is the right thing and what's the wrong thing to do. I've made a million mistakes in my life, and I'm not ashamed of mistakes because that's how you learn.
All that filming in his kitchen was the very, very first day of filming. Because he was just moving out of his house and it had been sold. So we had to rush in there before somebody else was living there.
Were right in what you said or not. And if
I love these stills.
They're great, absolutely great.
Clearly, if you have a conscience, you're reminded all the time of where you failed, and that is a continual rebuke. You have a sense of guilt about it. And I think anyone who could look back on his life and said he had nothing to be ashamed of would not be speaking the truth.
They're such a find, these stills.
Well, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've changed my view, for example, on nuclear power. I did once think that civil nuclear power was an example of using nuclear energy which was cheap and safe and peaceful. I heard the broadcast describing the Hiroshima attack, and then 10 years later, President Eisenhower talked about atoms for peace. He said you can use atomic power to generate electricity. And I thought, well, this is a sort of classic case of swords into plowshares. And I used to argue that civil nuclear power was safe, it was cheap, and it was peaceful.
It is with pride
he had no hesitation in admitting his mistakes throughout this film, did he, Michael?
I mean, all the time he was always saying, well, of course we made mistakes, of course I made mistakes. He'd admit to them.
My own experience, and it isn't cheap because they still haven't found a way of storing nuclear waste. It isn't safe if you look at Chernobyl and Fukushima and all the rest of it. And it isn't peaceful because I discovered after I left office that while I was there, without telling me, all the plutonium from our nuclear power stations was sent to America for their weapons program. So every so-called civil power station was actually a bomb factory for the Pentagon.
That totally horrified him. He felt so guilty.
I came out very strongly against nuclear power, and I am against it now. It was a mistake that I made. I understand why I made it, but it was a mistake. I think to recognize that you've got things wrong is absolutely essential if you're going to make sense of the problems you face next time round.
Well, you can't get a clearer admission than that, can you, Michael?
No, that's true.
That's a Chernobyl reactor. That's the town of Pripyat. And show some Fukushima footage.
Meanwhile, back at Ealing Studios.
This is the first time that I've dictated my diary on tape, but it will allow me to speak much more frankly than I could do if I was dictating to a secretary. It does, of course, contain secret information and must remain under lock and key.
Gosh. Is it 14 million words his complete diaries contain?
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot, isn't it? And have to try and edit that lot. That was Ruth, wasn't it?
That was Ruth.
Yeah.
Well, Tony had a team, I think, of about 5-6 people working full-time with him.
1966, I began dictating because I...
Again, this was actually in his family home. These happened to still be there. They hadn't moved them out. But apart from that, just these diaries in the kitchen, that was about it. The rest was empty.
This was in his basement.
Yeah.
Record of my life and what happened, what I thought and who I met.
All those pipes behind him.
Yeah.
I reached. I suppose in a way they might have been letters to a friend, but they do
You sort of don't think of Tony without his pipe.
No.
And perhaps a mug of tea in his hand.
Yeah.
Always remember
my accounts of cabinets with the official
memories of Tony.
The decisions are the same because they both obviously report, but the cabinet minutes are very boring. They don't say who said anything. Mine say who said it and what the feeling was.
It was such a pleasure to work with him, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, it's a lovely man. I mean, so sharp, such a sharp mind, but lovely with it. Very humble. But just
so as you say, if he could, he would have carried the bags and carried camera.
He was always conscious of other people's what they were doing and their welfare, as it were.
Oh God, I'm tuckered. It's the end of Monday, the 22nd of March.
I'm tuckered. We're great. I'm tuckered. And here I wanted to, again, a gear change.
I suppose if I reflect on the way our society is organised, democracy ought to be a means by which we change the system to meet people's needs. And it's been subtly transformed into changing people to meet the needs of the system. And that is the great failure.
There we are.
Many people go into Parliament with left-wing ideas and then end up on the right. I went the other way.
So true.
What really shifted me to the left was my experience as a minister.
I mean, one of the great things about Tony, that he stuck to his principles. He wasn't a fair weather politician. He always stuck to his principles.
Yes. His joke was, asked about Margaret Thatcher, he'd say, yes, she was a conviction politician. She was a signpost, and she stuck by that. The only trouble is Mrs. Thatcher was pointing in the wrong direction.
Yes.
But there's Robert Maxwell there.
Oh.
It wasn't corrupt, but it showed that
Roy Jenkins just passed.
Yeah.
Barbara Castle, which was such an inspiration for Tony.
We always wondered what Tony was looking at as he goes past.
That double take.
Double take.
And he does a little kind of wink or a nod, doesn't he? He acknowledges somebody.
I realised as a minister that the government of which I
There's Tony with Barbara.
was not involved in changing things, but trying to run the system better. And that is not what I thought it was about.
He remained popular until he began to adopt a more radical political...
This was his road to Damascus.
He spoke at the Upper Clyde Shipbuilders Work-In 1972.
We have, as the main speaker, a man who needs no introduction in place, say, Tony Wedgwood Benn. Our task, if we want a responsible society, is to give responsibility to ordinary people and take away the privilege from a minority who have dominated this country for too many centuries. Good luck, comrades.
He learnt so much from the UCS members. Jimmy Airlie, Jimmy Reid, I forget the third guy, forgive me for that.
I mean, he was a real hero, the shipbuilders, and of course...
They taught him so much.
Yes, that's right.
It's where he got his political education, I think, or his radicalism.
Mother has another Ovaltine and settles down to her novel from the Boots Library, and people hope it'll all go away. But that's not how it's pronounced. It is socialism. It's about...
Sammy Clark. There we are. I knew I'd remember.
As the third.
Yeah, I thought I can't let that one go.
Can't let it,
You realised that if you were going to make a change, you had to make a big change. And that is what being on the left is about. It's about getting away from dealing with the status quo and trying to adjust it to trying to think of a better sort of society where people's needs are met more easily and effectively.
Again, lovely music from Michelle.
Yeah. That's great.
We'll have that bit edited out, that compliment I just gave Michelle, shall we?
Oh, yeah, no, they should definitely have that edited out, yes. Can't give him too many compliments.
In the spring of 1976, and I think he realised what was coming.
I think Lisa really enjoyed cutting these.
Yeah, well, this is right up her street, isn't it? It's
really nice cuts.
Yeah.
The International Monetary Fund and big business around the world decided they didn't like a Labour government, so they forced us to make cuts. When the proposal for the cuts were made, Callaghan, who was Prime Minister, said, well, let's have proper discussion about it. I gave him full marks for that. So I put in a paper on the alternative economic strategy, which ran absolutely against what the Treasury wanted. It was a more direct socialist control of the economy so that we would do what we thought was right and not have it imposed on us by the IMF or completely unelected.
It'd be interesting what would have happened if they'd accepted Tony's policy.
Well, look what's happening to Greece.
Well,
Where it's going through the same process that Britain did.
That's right.
Made the cuts. And of course, when the cuts were made in a couple of years' time, it became apparent to the people in those industries what had happened, and they took action to defend themselves.
It cost the Labour government its life. It contributed to the mass unemployment which we now have. It wasn't necessary because, of course, the oil revenue was just beginning to come. But it was the beginning of the domination of the world economy by world bankers, and the IMF is really its political voice.
It was those cuts that led to the winter discontent, that led to the election of Mrs. Thatcher, and all the price we paid for that.
This was a great musical choice from Lisa Ryan Carter. Absolutely perfect.
It does work, absolutely. Yeah, it is really perfect, isn't it? Just...
I see no joy, I see only sorrow. I see no chance for your bright new tomorrow. So stand down, Margaret, stand down, please stand down. Stand down,
There are 1 million people now who are long-term unemployed, that's to say over a year, and something must be done. We are building up a society so unstable and so unfair.
Great bit of archive, that. Welcome to Thatcher's Beirut.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that shot. Wow.
I sometimes wonder if I'll ever get the chance just to see through my children in a holiday jam. I like seeing and to give a second thought.
I love this old boy just walking down the street.
Yeah, they just as though nothing was going on at all.
I grew up in the 30s with an unemployed father. He didn't riot. He got on his bike and looked for work, and he kept looking till he found it.
You see the guy with the glasses that doesn't clap his hands? I love that.
Yeah, there's...
Putting that 3 million in was a really good idea from Lisa, I think, because it completely undermines Norman Tebbett's argument. Because there was 1 million unemployed when he said it, and then
3 million.
3 million a few years later.
That's right.
Where there is discord, they will bring harm.
Francis of Assisi.
Yes, this is a brilliant juxtaposition.
Where there is error, may we bring truth. And where there is despair, may we bring hope.
Thatcher's private army.
I was elected to Chesterfield on the day the miners' strike began in 1984, and I'd always supported the miners. And Mrs. Thatcher decided to make war on the miners because they were very strong trade unions. She wanted to erode trade union power. So I came out in support of the miners.
You listen to me for a moment, because I feel you brought me here under false pretenses.
No, I'd like to...
This is really Tony in full flow.
Yeah, this is perfect, Tony.
On the soup round with the women last week.
It's amazing. There hasn't been an audience that we've shown this film to that have not roared with laughter with it at the end of this.
Yeah, and clapped as well.
They're arresting.
That's Leonard Parkin, isn't it?
Yeah.
The presenter.
I think the ITN coverage of the dispute...
He didn't stand a chance.
Because here are people defending their jobs. They're trying desperately to see that their communities are not killed.
Oh, I don't think that's the case,
Why don't you cover the crisis in the mining industry upon which you and I will depend for energy when the oil runs out? As I tell you...
And now we have the whole fracking debate.
Yeah, that's right.
They do very dangerous and difficult work. Our future depends upon them. Whole communities will die if they are allowed to be treated.
A German minister was asked recently why they kept their mines open. He said, because we're not mad.
I doubt that. I don't think that's what you're doing at all, truthfully, but that's your biz.
Mr. Tony Benn.
It was class war.
I wanted to bring cinema into the film as a way of concentrating ideas and emotions. And I thought, well, being the magpie that I am, why not, borrow from great directors, great actors, great writers?
This sums up the whole thing in such a perfect way. It'd be difficult to say this in a documentary.
Truth is, I thought it mattered. I thought that music mattered. But does it bollocks? Not compared to how people matter. Us winning this trophy won't mean bugger all to most people, but us refusing it, like what we're going to do now, well, then it becomes news, doesn't it? You see what I mean? That way I'll not just be talking to myself, will I? Because over the last 10 years, this bloody government has systematically destroyed an entire industry. Our industry. And not just our industry. Our communities, our homes, our lives. All in the name of progress and for a few lousy bob.
How moving was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The strike is interesting. The Conservative Party threw out Mrs. Thatcher and the miners re-elected Arthur Scargill. That indicated where the real commitment was.
Some people felt that using cinema in the documentary was wrong and a sign of weakness. What do you think, Michael?
I think you've For a start, it's a very good way of summing up what you want to say in very concisely, and using some of the great filmmakers to say it for you. I think it's a perfect way, and it's actually very emotional.
Whether it was worth fighting, you have to fight or you lose.
It works really well.
This was an important transition to show now the passing of Margaret Thatcher, and that headline is shocking.
Yeah.
To think the sun turned on Margaret Thatcher at the end like that.
Yeah.
We'll look back on her life now, the divisions and suffering which she caused and injustice which she perpetuated are much more remembered than the triumphs which she claimed.
Exactly, Tony.
We haven't come here to insult anybody. We have come here to tell you there's a different point of view than the one that the media has been pushing.
This chap is so eloquent.
Absolutely. I mean, couldn't say it better, really.
This is one of my favourite pieces of archive. It's just gold dust.
Families are mortally insulted by the eulogising of a woman who absolutely destroyed our communities and our ways of life.
And here I was being a bit naughty because you'd think, if you didn't know much about British history, that this is Thatcher's funeral.
This is, of course, Durham Cathedral.
And a celebration of the miners.
Yeah. Which Tony went to their gala celebration every year for something like 50 years.
Yeah.
He was there.
I think it was something like 63 years, actually.
Yeah.
I love this.
And the brass band at the cathedral is unbelievable.
Every year in the cathedral here in Durham, they have a service for the Durham miners.
There's Tony. There's George next to him. Again, without George's help and support. So many people. It's unbelievable.
Some years ago, the Blackwall Colliery said they wanted to add me to their banner. And I can't imagine a greater honour than to be on a miner's banner.
That was a very early start for us, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah. We had a few early starts, actually. Sunrises seem to be very much on the schedule.
I've got quite a few sunrises that haven't been used in this.
Yeah, and sunsets.
And sunsets.
Don't mind sunsets so much, but sunrises, like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Which meant the call time was about 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Strength was built on coal. And it's
I like this because it's similar to the dancing in the streets after the Second World War, the victory that...
It's Tony. Yeah. Beautiful archive.
In the Durham area, but you can close a pit, but you can't close miners.
Look at that. This is one of the largest gatherings every year in this country. It's never reported in the press or the television, and it's disgraceful. There was something like 90,000 people there that day. More breaking of the rules, I think.
Definitely. I'm surprised we weren't in prison after this.
Well, the head of security did come up to me, and but luckily the cards had been put in that runner's rucksack, if you remember. And we pretended they had to go out to get sandwiches or something.
That's right, yeah. So at least we got the film out, as it were.
Yeah, there was just a camera kit.
I realised that Parliament can become a club. You're a member of a club. But actually, you are there to represent people. It's not just a cosy little place where you just meet and govern the country. It's a place where real issues are decided and you have to put forward your arguments with passion.
We had to rearrange all the chairs, all the tables to get that shot, because they were all sort of...
It was a total mess in there.
Be careful, Michael, you might get arrested.
Oh, right, yeah. But I think Tony loved smoking in there, because obviously that's completely illegal.
Yep.
People, you do get attacked. And they presented you as if you were a sort of...
The poor security people didn't know what to do.
Do you think if David Cameron sees this film, he'll be upset with Tony leaning on his dispatch box?
Well, I hope he will.
Marxist werewolf.
The main protagonists in the by-election had already taken up their positions. Tony Benn was trying to meet as many people as possible to prove he doesn't actually have horns.
This was really important. Oh, I love this line.
Jesuit, a flat earther, a Trotskyite, a vegetarian, I don't care, because I know why they call us names. It's because they dare not face our arguments.
I was once the most dangerous man in Britain, and now I'm, they could describe as a national treasure.
I think we'll definitely get arrested for that shot, Michael.
Yes, that was not allowed, I think is the word.
They're really saying you're a kindly, harmless old gentleman.
This gets a good laugh.
Well, I am kindly, I am old, I could be a gentleman, but I'm not harmless.
You're not going to stop me.
But you've been on radio and you've done it already.
No, I'm sorry. The disaster emergency...
The story of this clip is quite interesting. Somebody very high up in the BBC pulled some strings for us to get this approved and licensed to us. And I've never found out who it is. No one will tell me.
Raising impartiality, the public will be concerned. And the other issue, of course, will the aid actually get to the people?
Because it was very difficult to actually get that, because you'd seen it online, and to actually get the
original.
The original.
And to get the license.
Let me be clear about that. And I started my life...
All I've been told is it went to the very top.
I love the BBC.
Whatever that means.
But it is capitulated to Israeli press.
I'm so glad.
I have to tell you.
Whoever that is, I want to thank them now. Because it's just a fantastic
I
clip.
got a death threat the other day. I haven't had one for ages. I was so chuffed. It shows that I'm not seen by people still as harmless.
I saw a couple of these death threats whilst we were making the film, and they're really scary. I can't repeat some of the things that were said, really,
When I was a young
to Tony.
man, I was interested
But he sort of
in media,
took them in his stride.
what I said and so on. When I moved to the left...
The reason why one of the reasons why I
speeches about the system.
ended up in Ealing Studios after seeing a lot of studios was the fact that it's probably one of the oldest studios in Britain, and it still has the original walls. So it has that texture of old
nicotine
and the soundproofed walls.
Yeah, with the chicken wire.
And the chicken wire all over it. And that's part of the set.
We thought Tony would love to be here and feel at home.
Yes, that's right.
It's got history, texture.
The Labour Party about what I was saying.
A lot of great British movies have been shot there.
It wasn't true, but it was very, very damaging, because it meant that anything you did was written off immediately. And that was the period of the press persecution, which was horrible. They used to come into the garden at night, ring the front doorbell every 10 minutes throughout the night, used to shout at my children as they went to school in the hope my children would shout something back and they could film it.
It's unbelievable what the tabloids used to get up to with Tony.
It was a very, very frightening experience, I found, having the media turn on you in the way they did.
But you think of Leveson now.
Yeah.
I think the family pay a very heavy price for having a parliamentary father, because I always had things that had to take priority. If I had a cabinet meeting the following morning, I had to prepare the night
Again,
before.
very honest.
And that meant it took me away from my family and from my children. Caroline, my wife, was a very determined woman. She did have a very rough time as well. They printed untrue things about her. On the other hand, she was a very serious person. She understood exactly...
One of the tabloids accused, put a story out that Tony had a secret bank account in the Bahamas. So Tony phoned up the editor and said, "Oh, could you give me the sort code number, please?"
I said when I was young, always say what you mean and mean what you say. And that, as a principle, is very straightforward. If you have an opinion, you must express it, and then you take the flack that goes with it. And it's sometimes very severe criticism and destruction and misrepresentation, but if that's your view, you have to say it. And
I can't imagine what it's like to live through a period where every morning, you know, on radio, television, in the newspapers, you're called mad, insane, a messiah or monster, Benn the dictator, twisted, evil, treacherous.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? The rhetoric, the vitriol from the tabloids.
We were defeated in 1979, and that was the last time I held ministerial office. So my experience from then on was never of politics from the inside at the top. It was from the outside at the bottom.
This was quite a difficult part of the film because this is such a rich history of the Labour Party.
The British press are very critical of the left, everything the left does or argues for is always described as destructive. Matter of fact, when I look back on the history of the Labour Party, it's the right who've always got us into trouble.
I don't want to talk over Tony there, but Tony and I sat down and I said, look, I've got this really complicated story. And he, in typical fashion, said, let's have a cup of tea and talk about it. and I got my notebook out and he said, as a suggestion, what about if we do it this way, and this way?
Neil Kinnock came to power at a time when the Labour Party was on the defence.
And then Lisa took that and ran with it.
Election, and Neil became leader. And I think of Neil as the grandfather of New Labour. He thought the party would only succeed if it abandoned.
It's good that Tony had that input in the film.
Well, it's really Tony that directed the film.
Yeah.
Kinnock, who was a figure of the left, was very, very critical of the left, and always wanted to present himself in a different position from the one that I think he really held. He probably thought that the only way you'd win would be to move to the centre.
It's Peter Mandelson with a
little
moustache in the background there, sort of lurking.
A bump. Yeah.
They will follow you even if it does involve taking a bit of a risk.
He's asked to see a copy of the film.
A lot of people reckon this probably lost him the election, this shot.
Yeah. Well, it was a photo op that was organised by the Labour Party, by Kinnock. So he sort of was the master of his own downfall. I love the speech.
Good and humane Labour governments, and we haven't succeeded because it can't work, because it rests on injustice, lives on inequalities, and if you try to modify them, then they turn on you and cut back your gains and throw you back to where you started.
How relevant is that to today? Unbelievable.
The argument always was if you move to the centre, you'll win, but if two centre parties competing for public support...
He had quite a tough time on that ferry, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the wind and it was getting a bit choppy, and poor Tony was hanging on for dear life.
Against democracy and the Labour movement.
She's saying, try and look relaxed. Try and look relaxed. I am.
Inherited in 1997.
Oh, I wanted that, one of my sunrises. That was at 2 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
Yes.
This shot says it all. This is fantastic. Bit of archive. The passing of the baton.
Which really was a Thatcherite party.
And maybe that's being a bit unkind with that shot.
Every breath that I breathe, every sinew of my body, to ensuring that your grandchildren do get to live in that new Britain, in a new and better world. New Labour, new Britain.
So I think the conclusion that lay at the heart of the foundation of New Labour was the idea you couldn't win if you didn't adopt.
Again, a bit of archive gold dust here.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was asked her greatest achievement. She said New Labour. The Labour Party was set up as a socialist party, and then when Blair became leader, he abandoned Clause 4 of our Constitution. Clause 4 did make us into a socialist party.
I think Tony was very polite about Blair. I think
he was. He was polite.
Well, he was polite about Thatcher as well. I mean, he could have easily really laid into them, but no, he was very polite.
Common ownership of the means of production, distribution and exchange, and the best obtainable means.
This, again, was very important to Tony. You know, this point about Clause 4 being in the film.
Yes.
Democracy should determine how our industry develop and not leave it to the simple and crude criteria of whether you were making a profit in one year or another. It was no longer the policy of the Labour Party, so Blair decided to get rid of it. And by doing that, he stripped us of our
I wanted to cut to Peter Mandelson there.
This is a modern party living in an age of change.
I think Peter Mandelson would be quite proud of his involvement in the Blair years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was instrumental in
a lot of it, yeah.
In a lot of it, particularly Clause 4. There's Jack Straw. Keith Vaz.
Signaling the scrapping of the historic Clause 4, which calls for common ownership, the most dramatic indication of what Mr. Blair means by the New Labour.
Blair, from the very beginning, was reassuring his critics, including Murdoch. Don't worry, when we get there, we won't be a socialist party, we'll be a centre party, and we'll do it better than...
I don't know if there's any truth that the first person that Tony Blair went to see was Rupert Murdoch.
I think it might well have been, yeah.
I think he flew to Australia or some island that Murdoch owns to have lunch with him.
There's very great excitement and there's great hope in Britain today, and we celebrate that. Even greater, therefore, is our sense of humility and responsibility in not disappointing those hopes or dashing those expectations.
Brilliant, that. Brilliant.
The cut between his humility in inverted commas and what was actually going on. Well, do you remember we did the original 12-minute cut on Christmas Day?
That's right. I mean, that's it. And it hadn't really changed since then.
About 2.5 years ago, it was like a mood board.
Yeah.
Developing chemical and biological...
Oh, people are going to think we're so sad that we do that on Christmas Day, Michael.
Yeah. Well...
We don't have a life. Just realised what I just told.
Speak for yourself. This is another thing. A lot of people don't realise that Tony went to see Saddam.
Well, he went twice. Once with Ted Heath to negotiate the release of the Human Shield, the British workers and their families, and the second time for the WMD. And this Hans Blix line is fantastic.
100 inspections at 500 different sites, and in no case did we find any weapons of mass destruction.
If action is taken by Britain and America, it will be illegal in international law.
That was the largest demonstration in the history of the world.
The United Nations and the
1 million people came out.
For the deaths of civilians that may follow would rest with those who took that...
I think someone's making a documentary about that on this from WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
The war cost hundreds of thousands of lives and didn't solve the problem, and we're still there, and it was an imperial war. I think that the decision taken to tell the British Parliament that we had to go to war with Iraq was based on false information and led to war and bloodshed and death. And therefore anyone who did that has a responsibility for it. And I think till the day...
Those were Reuters photographers, and their cameras were mistaken for guns.
Well, mistaken or just yeah.
And there was a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old in the front there. The children of the father that came to try and rescue them.
It's unbelievable.
Both children unfortunately died.
Yeah.
My north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out everyone. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up...
Notice the camera's slowly sinking in the sand there.
It's just a little move.
It moved down,
punched in. It was difficult for Tony to talk about this, so again we used poetry.
She was very ill. She had cancer, and for about 4 years she got progressively worse. And then we took her to hospital. She was very ill, and somebody came and took her away in an ambulance, and I went with her to the hospital. And then the night she died, I was with her and my 4 children were there, and the Macmillan nurse said to me, if you like, you can say to her, you can go now if you want to, we're all here. So I said, well, if you want to go now, you can, we're all here. And a few moments later, she stopped breathing. And it was a dramatic moment. And my first thought was, at any rate, she suffers no more. And she's been the most powerful influence in my life, without any doubt at all.
Well, you can't get more honest than that, can you?
Can't.
To be able to just look straight at the camera and open your heart out like that. I think that's what the audience really appreciates with Tony, his directness.
Well, yeah, the directness and the very human side.
I waited so long for these birds to fly past because I just wanted that.
That was about 7 o'clock in the morning or something, wasn't it?
It was. Because the light was just perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And the Leader of the Opposition for the help he has given. May I also express the hope that on June the 7th, people realise that many thousands of people sacrificed their lives to give us the vote, and if they do not use it, they betray that inheritance. It was the right thing to do, to leave Parliament.
Again, a lovely piece of music from Lisa. Great choice.
Why don't you leave Parliament and say you're leaving to devote more time to politics? And I said that, and that's what I've done. And I have been very, very busy since I left the House of Commons.
I'm so glad we broke the rules in the House of Commons, because we would never have been able to get those shots if we hadn't broke the rules.
I conclude that from the beginning of time, there have always been two flames burning in the human heart. The flame of anger against...
This is back in the Southwold, I think, wasn't it?
I hoped you could build a better world, and my job is to go around fanning...
And this is what he did. He did this every week, sometimes twice a week, didn't he?
Go on tour around the country in the summer.
Yeah. He was on trains, up and down the country. He was the president of Stop the War Coalition.
Well, I mean, his entire life he was making speeches, joining marches.
Relentlessly campaigning.
Relentlessly campaigning for a better world.
When most politicians, when they retire, they go off to sunny France or wherever.
That's right.
Millions and millions of people, we are making a demand. Withdraw our troops from Afghanistan and end the Afghan war. That is what we are demanding.
I think Tony would be embarrassed with this commentary because we're so complimentary, Michael. He'd probably tell us politely to shut up, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. But I mean, that's what he was.
In London the other day in my car, and it was clear there was going to be an
I think this was in Sidmouth. This was one of his gigs with his friend
Roy Bailey.
Roy Bailey, that's it. Who Roy used to play the guitar and sing political songs, and Tony used to do his political jokes. And it's Roy's song, Roy's rendition of Bread and Roses, which we end the film with. Yeah.
If that's not a spoiler, I don't know if you can say that's a spoiler with the director's commentary. The horse is bolted already.
Yeah, that's right.
Go straight to the garage, closed the hood, zipped up the front.
But this was a regular occurrence, these gigs around the country.
Yeah.
Tony and Roy.
Yeah.
And he was, 87 when he was still doing this?
Yeah.
Because what we're about is the struggle of people. Every generation, the same struggle goes on for all...
87 and a half, actually.
Freedom and justice and so on.
This was a very wet day.
When you ask children how old are they, go, I'm 6.5, don't they? They go, I'm 7 3/4.
That's it, yes.
Tony used to do the same. He's going, no, I'm 78 and a half.
Yeah.
Or 87, rather 87 and a half.
The majority of the population of the world who create the world's wealth, and the minority who own and control the world's wealth.
This was Glasgow. At the Anti-Cuts March. And Tony insisted on walking in the rain.
There are only two sources of wealth in the world, people and land. The ownership of land is the core to everything. The land and the coal under the ground and the oil under the ground is the source of wealth. And that idea of the common ownership of land is a very, very basic one, and now it's extended to all the resources that come from the land. And that private ownership system has impoverished a lot of people and enriched a lot of others, and is that democratically acceptable?
And again, another gear change.
It's all about power and where
back to capitalism.
Too much power is in the hands of too few people.
Yeah.
It's not the trade unions running the world, quite the opposite. It's these secret, powerful people who've got positions in industry.
And again, going back to cinema, drawing upon great directors, great writers, great performers. This is a Sidney Pollock, isn't it, Network?
Yeah, I think so.
And maintain the underclass and the injustices that we see.
You are an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians.
This actor, Ned Beatty, he waived his fee for this clip, Michael.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he said he wrote a letter to the exec producer, who I want to mention, Jacqueline Jean-Louis, who, again, an unsung hero. Worked so hard on this film, it's unbelievable. Anyway, he wrote her a letter saying, I'm waiving my fee. All I would like is a copy of the film. Told his agent, told the studios.
I mean, it's such a relevant clip. It works so well.
There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world.
It's funny, if you do the research, those companies, apart from one, Union Carbide, even Union Carbide's around and away, they sit behind the stock exchange and own controlling shares in so many other companies, but they stay in the background.
Yeah.
Subsidised by the government, then they bought the banks that went bankrupt. And then they say to poor people, you've got to suffer.
This was the Occupy movement under St Paul's.
I seem to remember this was another very early start.
Alienation is the precise, correctly
Jimmy Reed's fantastic speech.
major social problem in Britain today.
We had to light the studio so that we could have these cranes moving all over it, so every single light had to be rigged.
Red Road,
which
is no longer there now.
It's no longer there, yeah.
Pervades people who feel that they have no real say in shaping or determining their own destinies.
You, Moss, you're such a hero. You're so rich. How come you're coming down here and waste your time with such a bunch of bums? You see this watch? You see this watch? Yeah. That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing.
It is easy and tempting, though, to hate such people.
I mean, again, I'm guilty of stealing. But,
I know, but it just says it all in such a short space of time. It's just perfect.
I love that film. This is a nice...
Hardy said at the beginning of the last century, he said, we've won political democracy.
Very good point, this.
Economic democracy is what matters. And that makes an awful lot of sense to me, because people are still subject, really, to market forces, and market forces have no human element, because market forces are controlled by people who are not accountable to those they control. And that, I think, is the next stage forward.
I think that's why that argument he applies also to the European Commission, that he feels that the commissioners are not elected, they're appointed. And that's why he's against Europe, or is seen as against Europe. He said if those commissioners were directly elected by the people and could be removed by the people, then he'd be for ties to economic cooperation.
Yeah.
But he said it's basically a private banking club. And this is I Am Clute.
Again, works perfectly.
We wanted to show Tony's point, demonstrate that point of the struggles continuing throughout history. And it's never a battle that is won or lost. It's just a continuous battle that each generation has to fight. And so the idea came that we would show a montage of those struggles, right from Emmeline Pankhurst and the suffragettes through. And then at some point we go to colour to bring it to sort of recent history. great man.
Great man.
Things are moving much more quickly than in the past, and I think the information...
His demonstrations around the world brings it up to date, right to the so-called Arab Spring.
Tony called Mandela the grandfather of the human race.
If you encourage people, you'll do more good than any other way because you'll release in them the life force that makes them want to do things. When I see all these other people doing things, I am inspired by it. I think the least I can do is to shine some of that encouragement back to them. And if on my gravestone, when I died, they had just the simple word, Tony Benn, he encouraged us, I would regard that as a sufficient justification for what I've done.
The whole set.
Yeah.
Shown like a reveal, I suppose.
He always said that on his epitaph he wanted the phrase, "He encouraged us." Well, Dad, you did encourage us, and you did inspire us, and your encouragement and inspiration, both for us and for others, will never end.
Hard to think what to say, Michael.
Yeah, it is. We were setting up actually for his interview.
And then Ruth said to me, I think you might find there's a really nice moon
That's
outside.
right, lovely moon. Do you want to have a look? If he rushed out. So all those looks incredibly peaceful and well organised, actually. This is all a sort of last-minute panic to get this shot.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone that helped on this film.
I mean,
hundreds and hundreds.
It was a real
hundreds of
team
people.
effort.
Massive team effort.
A real team effort.
All films are.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we didn't bore them too much. I probably suspect we did.
I think so. They'd probably be asleep by now.
Should we go to the pub?
I think that's probably the best thing.
Oh, no, we can't. Because the credits. Oh, no, they've heard that now. Then this is Roy Bailey's song, Bread and Roses. Well, his rendition of Bread and Roses.
Bread and Roses.
Which I think is so apt. And this was a really good call from Andy Stirk.
Yeah.
I put it to Andy thinking he'd say, no, you've got to have something, very professional.
Yeah.
But Andy just loved it.
Yeah,
and that gave me lots of confidence.
And when this film was shown at BAFTA, they had Roy came in and played it at the end of the film.
Oh yeah, with the crew screening.
Yeah.
Merv. Oh, we're not going to end up doing a roll call of all the people.
Roll call of all the people was Merv and Gerard. Yeah, the sound recorded again. Just a brilliant team all round.
For roses and bread, that's your bit. Bread and roses.
Well, there is something to be said for continuity in a team. I mean, this team is largely the one that made the previous film, Peter. The HODs. And we've kind of kept everyone together, haven't we, Michael?
Yeah, I think it works really well.
Bread and roses.
Probably all a bit mad, but it worked.
We'll carry on the battle for roses and bread. He was born.
I'm constantly surprised at what a sound mixer like Andy Stirk can do. This documentary, the archive. I mean, so much of this archive had no sound whatsoever. And he created the archive sound.
Yeah.
And then he does a thing like he ages it down. And it just feels like it was there. But it never was. That's what's incredible.
Yeah.
And big thanks to ITM. He was very kind and generous, to put it mildly.
With blood the workers shed, we'll carry on the battle.
And the archive department.
Yes.
We didn't do very much on this when I think about it.
Not really.
Not really.
No.
We'll carry for roses and bread again.
I think just staying out of the way is basically our job, isn't it?
I think so. Well, making sure that that there was a pub open nearby.
Yes, yeah. While they're scouting wrecking the locations, we're normally scouting where the drinking dens
That's
are.
right.
This is not a professional way to end the commentary.
No, it's probably not.
But fairly honest.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, whoever's still awake.
Yeah. We had a good time making it, and Tony most certainly did.
Yeah. Great man. Okay.